In the game, the player attacks villages and buildings that are preset. These structures provide the player with necessary pickups to finish the level. Players can also eat animals and humans to collect health pickups, and they will also have to dodge humanity retaliation attacks. These attacks will vary depending on the level, and humanity will attack the player with weapons ranging between boulders and all the way up to nuclear devices. This game will have fast-paced gameplay like that of Jetpack Joyride, with the destructive elements of Angry Birds. The player will have to decide what part of the playable area they want to be on and have to be able to change that section at a moment's notice. Players will be limited to just Y-axis movement in this game. There will be 3 levels of movement and randomly generated obstacles to force the player to a new level. The player will also be able to decide when they want to eat a human or when they want to eat an animal, which will also be randomly generated. The player's attacks on towns and buildings will allow them to collect pickups for their ammo as they crush towns with their bodies, or their fire breath. The player is trying to avoid losing all health while destroying as much of the civilization that exists in the current time frame, or level. Time frame destruction is tracked as a percentage of civilization destroyed, and if players are successful in completing a time frame, they move to the next part in human history. The antagonizing force is humanity. They will attempt to stop your destruction of their species throughout time. They begin by hurling boulders at the dragon/player, and eventually, when nearing the final area, nukes. Each weapon that is hurled at the player increases in strength, until eventually they are one-shot kills. The player's goal is to defeat the last of humanity by the end of the game, and reshape the world in order for it to be reborn. Ultimately, though, the goal is to wipe humanity off the earth to make way for dragonkind to flourish. This is not going to be easy because the player has to defeat humanity during multiple periods of time and technological advancement. To accommodate a more comedic style game, this will be a 2D side-scroller, with cell shading as the art style. With games like Borderlands, which started as a clean and serious look, the switch to cell shading gave it the ability to be a little more free with the ridiculous nature of some of the aspects. This is the hope for RagingDragon. This game could be considered Jetpack Joyride meets Angry Birds. The basis for this consideration is the fact that the movement in the game is restricted to up and down, but you also have the opportunity to destroy buildings and structures similar to Angry Birds, but more exploding or crushing. The player won't be using physics like in Angry Birds, but the fire attack will use some form of physics curvature. How long the player holds down the attack button will determine how the attack will fly. Worst case scenario in destroying the structures, the player will use their body to destroy the remaining part of the villages they come across. The obvious risk is that we're all extremely inexperienced in coding and design. And another is the time crunch to complete this project. It will be a difficult process. Since I'm not aware of how this final project works, my assumption would be that we will not be able to select our own teams. As such, we have a varying mix of people, ideas, and so on. We may not have someone to design the look of our world or the way the characters look.